This is the beginning of factoring. Today we're going to be using the distributive property to factor. I just want to tell you a few things on this first page, and if you need to, you can pause the video to read over all the notes. The first thing that you want to do is find the greatest common factor of all of the terms, and then rewrite each term as the product of the greatest common factor and its remaining factors. So basically, you're going to factor out the greatest common factor and then write what's left. It's the opposite of the distributive property. So number one, we have to decide what the greatest common factor is of 15 and 25x. So 5 can go into both 15 and 25, and both of these have at least one x. So I'm going to take out an x. Now I can't write x squared because the 15x only has one x. So that is what I can factor out. So you ask yourself, what do you multiply to 5x? What do you multiply to 5x to get 15x? 3. You would have to multiply 3 to get that. Then you say, what do you need to multiply to 5x to get positive 25x? What do you need? You would need to have a positive 5x because, let's check it, okay? So this is done. We're finished. That's it. But you need to just check it and make sure. So I'm going to do that by distributing. So 5x times 3 would be 15x, and 5x times 5x is a positive 25x squared. So that works out because it's the same thing as the problem. Number 2, we're doing the same thing. It's just bigger. So what number could go into 12, 24, and 30? 6. 6 can go into all of those. So 6 can go into 12, 24, and 30. Now let's look at our variables. Everything has an x and a y, but the first term only has one x and one y. So that's all we can take out. So let's write what's left. What would you need to multiply to 6xy to get 12xy? 2. What do you need to multiply to 6xy to get 24xy squared? You would need a 4 and another y. What do you need to multiply to 6xy to get negative 30x squared y to the 4th? Well, 6 times negative 5 gives you negative 30. And then we need another x and 3 more y's. So that is our answer, but I'm just going to double check with the distributive property. So 6xy times 2 is 12xy. 6xy times 4y is a positive 24xy squared. 6xy times negative 5xy cubed. So 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. And then let's write how many x's we have. We've got 2. How many y's? If we multiply 6xy times 5xy cubed, we would have 4. So we have y to the 4th. Does this match our original problem? Yes, it does. So what we circled is the final answer. So number 3, it says factor 15a minus 3ab plus 4b minus 20. This is a quadrinomial because it has 4 terms. And I know it looks like a lot, but these are actually easier because anytime you have a quadrinomial, you're going to factor by grouping. And that basically means let's put parentheses around the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms. And you're going to factor each set of parentheses separately. So what is the greatest common factor of the first set of parentheses? 15a minus 3ab. I can take out a 3a because what do I need to multiply to 3a to get 15a? 5. What do I need to multiply to 3ab to get negative 3ab? I would need a negative b. Then you do the second set of parentheses. So what can I take out of 4b and negative 20? I can take out a 4. That's the greatest common factor. What would be left? 4 times what is 4b? B. 4 times what is negative 20? Negative 5. So I'm left with this. All right, do you see anything about the parentheses? Well, this is a harder problem than I would like just because on the first set of parentheses we have 5 minus b. On the second set we have b minus 5. Typically, when you see in the beginning of these problems is both of the set of parentheses would be the same. However, I can make them the same by making this a negative 3a. So watch what happens. If I change this to a negative 3a, I can reverse this to b minus 5. It is the same thing because 3a times 5 is 15, and negative 3a times negative 5 is 15a. So it's the same thing, it's just reversed. Now I'm going to leave this plus 4 times b minus 5. Now that both of my parentheses are the same, so you can do this once your parentheses are exactly the same, you take what's outside of the parentheses, the negative 3a plus 4, and put that in one set, and you put what's on the inside of the parentheses on the other set. And that is what you end up with. That would be the final answer. Now, just to check, we're going to use the distributive property because we had a lot of stuff going on here, so we just want to make sure we're right. Okay, so negative 3a times b would be negative 3ab. Negative 3a times negative 5 would be a positive 15a. 4 times b is positive 4b. And 4 times a negative 5 is negative 20. Is that what we started with in the beginning? It's in a different order, but it is the same exact thing. So that's our final answer is what's circled. Number 4 and 5, I'm going to show you how to solve the equation. All right, in number 4, it's really simple because it's whatever the polynomial was, it's already been factored for you. So basically in number 4, I can show you how to solve an equation after the polynomial has already been factored. You just take each of the factors, which is x minus 2 and the 4x minus 1, and you set them individually equal to 0 and you solve for x. So right here, we would add the 2 to both sides, and you would get x equals 2. Over here, we would add the 1. So I would get 4x equals 1. And then divide by 4, and I would get x equals 1/4. So x equals 2 and x equals 1/4 are both the answers for number 4. I'm going to make a little division here. Number 5, what you do is you want one side of the equation to equal 0. Okay, just one side. I would choose the side that has the biggest exponent, the highest exponent, for everything to be moved to that side. So for example, since I have 4y on one side and 12y squared on the other side, I'm going to move the 4y to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to end up with 0 equals 12y squared minus 4y. Now, that's not a rule. You don't have to do that. That's just typically what I do is move everything to the side of the equation with the highest exponent. Now that we're there, we're going to solve it like factoring like we did in the other equation. I'm sorry, in the other problems. So I'm just going to leave a 0 here on this side, and I'm going to factor the right side. So what is the greatest common factor between 12y squared and 4y? I could take out a 4y. When I do that, I would be left with 3y minus 1 because 4y times 3y is 12y squared, and 4y times negative 1 would give me negative 4y. And now that it's factored, I set each of those things equal to 0 and separately solve them. So solve for the y in both of those equations. So divide by 4 in the first one, you would get y equals 0. In the second equation, I would add 1 to both sides, and I get 1 equals 3y. Divide both sides by 3, and I would get y equals 1/3. So 0 and 1/3 are both of my answers.